What tips would you give for HR contingency planning post-Brexit?
Well, the first piece of advice I would give is to have a look and see what individuals you've got working within your workforce at the moment and how heavily reliant you are upon EU nationals within your workforce. Now, that's not to say that the status of those individuals will be affected, because the government has been very clear that for those individuals who are resident in the UK as at the 29th of March this year, their rights will remain unchanged and they will have the ability to apply to the EU settlement scheme, and they can make those applications up to the 31st December 2020 in the event of a no-deal Brexit, or indeed if a deal is reached, they will have up until June in 2021 to make those applications. But if you are heavily reliant upon EU nationals in your workforce now, it is probably the case that you would have been heavily reliant on those candidates for future recruitment campaigns, and therefore you need to really put in place some contingency planning if that pool of candidates either disappears altogether or is significantly reduced. And one of the ways to do that is to reach out at a younger pool of candidates. A lot of businesses are now focusing on building relationships with schools and colleges, offering work placements, attending careers fairs, setting up apprenticeship schemes. So looking at building relationships with those younger people with a view to then training them up within their business. Others are perhaps targeting those areas of pools of candidates who have been relatively untapped. For example, mothers returning to the workforce, or potentially retirees who are now looking to get back into the workforce, either on a full-time or part-time basis. Even perhaps people from the military who are then leaving the military and looking for jobs in the civilian world. So they could be a source of candidates that you have not really explored before. But the one thing all of this has in common is that you are looking at cultivating a pipeline of candidates rather than simply putting a job role out there and expecting people to come to you. Another thing people can do is to actually look at the skills within your organisation to see whether or not any potential gaps can be filled by training and development of your existing employees. And also, I think it's important to consider what your employer brand is. And what I mean by that is actually seeing potential candidates as customers and looking at how you are attracting them to deal with your organisation, as in to come and work for you. And social networking strategies are very important in that, and indeed social networking recruitment campaigns can be incredibly successful and relatively low cost. But I think one of the most important things to focus on in future is going to be employee engagement within your business, because if you've got very high employee engagement, then it's much less likely that people will want to leave the business, which means you're avoiding those recruitment challenges, but also you'll get a reputation of being a company that people want to work for, and that will give you a real competitive edge in a very challenging recruitment market.